There are many things in the world that cause human beings pain, anything from a simple paper cut to losing a limb. But there are some things that can make even the most painful experience you've ever had seem like a walk in the park. And today, we're gonna go over some of the most painful things a human can experience. You're gonna need a lot more than Tylenol if you ever find yourself afflicted with these. Only those who've experienced it can imagine the agony of passing a kidney stone. It's a harrowing experience that can happen seemingly out of nowhere. You're going about your daily routine when, suddenly, a sharp, stabbing pain erupts in your back. Your first thought is that you pulled a muscle after lifting something wrong or going on a Netflix binge. But then you realize that the pain intensifies and begins to migrate. Then it hits you. A dreaded kidney stone has begun its agonizing journey through your urinary tract, causing unimaginable discomfort along the way. As it travels from your kidney to your bladder, the pain reaches new heights, leaving you feeling like someone's stabbing you with a knife from inside. Unfortunately, there's no quick escape from this torment. You're at the mercy of the stone's progress. Some have compared this pain to childbirth, minus the joy of a new life at the end. It's a battle of endurance as you wait for the stone to pass, praying for relief with each excruciating moment. Our next topic takes us to the land down under in Australia, where absolutely nothing wants to kill you, right? Well, anyway, imagine you're swimming in the pristine waters, reveling in the idyllic weather, when suddenly you feel a slight sting on your skin. Initially, you brush it off as an encounter with a piece of seaweed or perhaps a nibble from a curious fish. But the true nature of your predicament becomes apparent within minutes as the pain begins to take hold. The Irukandji jellyfish, despite its diminutive size, which is no larger than a fingernail, is known for a sting that unleashes a cascade of agony. Within 20 to 30 minutes of the sting, you'll begin to feel a pain comparable to being set on fire. Your back and stomach throb, as if you've been on the receiving end of a relentless beating from a boxer. Your muscles seize up, leaving you contorted and immobile. And as if the physical torment wasn't enough, a sense of impending doom washes over you, with some victims convinced they were staring death in the face. And the scariest part? These tiny terrors are not confined to Australian waters. They've been found in locations ranging from Hawaii to Florida, lying in wait for unsuspecting swimmers. When you consider the fact that this little blighter causes Australia $3 billion annually from lost tourism and medical charges, it's no wonder it would make this list. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, we sure would appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. Also, if you like the prospect of sharing things that are painful, be sure to share this video with others who share your tastes. Hey, no judgment here. After all, the more you know, right? Thanks in advance. Now back to the content. This next one might prompt you to check your shot records with your doctor. Tetanus, also known as Lockjaw, is a bacterial infection that targets the nervous system, wreaking havoc on the body. It generally starts with a minor cut, usually on a rusted object such as a nail. But that's all it takes for this bacteria to invade your body and unleash their devastating effects. Meaning if you haven't had a tetanus shot, you're in trouble. Initially, you might not notice any symptoms, but a few days later, the nightmare begins. Your muscles start to spasm and stiffen, beginning with your jaw, hence its lockjaw moniker. This could leave you unable to eat, speak, or even breathe properly. But the torment doesn't end here. The spasms spread through your body like wildfire, potentially rendering you as rigid as a plank of wood. Some spasms may even be enough to cause bone fractures. And as you might expect, the pain is excruciating. Not only does this nasty disease render you potentially stiff as a board, but it leaves your screams of agony muffled by your stiffened jaw. If by now you haven't thought about checking your shot records, I definitely would consider it. Our next case is going to make even the most severe headache you've ever experienced feel like nothing. There exists a thing called cluster headaches, and they're a form of agony that defies description. Try imagining the worst headache you've ever had and amplifying that pain by 100. That's about what a cluster headache is like. The unfortunate people who suffer from this condition often describe it as a searing hot poker relentlessly jabbing their eye socket, or a jagged serrated knife sawing through their skull. And as the name implies, the torment doesn't end with a single attack. These headaches assail their victims in clusters, striking daily for weeks or even months on end. Then, as suddenly as they appear, they vanish without a trace like a debt-dodging ex-partner, only to return with a vengeance out of nowhere. During an attack, the agony is so all-consuming that sufferers may resort to pacing frantically, slamming their heads against the wall, or even screaming in agony. If you ever encounter someone suffering from these headaches, offer them solace and understanding, and maybe a pair of earplugs, for they're undoubtedly enduring an unimaginable level of pain. If you thought we were done with aquatic horrors yet, think again. Picture yourself leisurely strolling on the beach, reveling in the warm sensation of the sand between your toes, not quite paying attention to the world around you, and suddenly, a sharp, searing pain shoots through your foot. Perhaps you thought you stepped on a shell, or maybe a crab managed to pinch your toe. But I'm afraid not. You have been stung by a stonefish. These fish are like the silent assassins of the sea, masters of camouflage that blend into the rocks in their environment. And they also happen to be the most venomous known fish on the planet. The agony inflicted by their sting is unrivaled, with victims describing it as a simultaneous onslaught of being crushed, burned, and electrocuted. The suffering has been described as so severe that some have even pleaded with doctors to amputate the affected limb. You can only imagine how bad it must be to want to lose your own limb over it. And even worse, a few unlucky souls have lost their lives to this venomous fish. Thankfully, these fish are not actively aggressive and will only sting if bothered or stepped on. But even if you don't go into the water, you're still not safe, as stonefish can live on land for up to 24 hours. So when you're walking down the beach in Australia or anywhere else these fish are found, make sure you watch your step. Don't let that summer getaway potentially be your last. For most of us, pain is fleeting, an unfortunate annoyance that we only have to deal with occasionally. But for those who suffer from fibromyalgia, pain is a daily occurrence. Imagine waking up every morning with your body racked by pain, utterly exhausted no matter how much rest you've had, and even the slightest touch causing you to feel like needles are piercing your skin. And perhaps the worst part? Since you appear healthy on the outside, some people may dismiss your pain or even call you lazy. Fibromyalgia's invisibility is one of the toughest aspects of it. Only people who experience it can seem to understand. Sufferers often equate it to having a full-body sunburn, and even going as deep as their internal organs. As if that wasn't enough, fibromyalgia is accompanied by many other symptoms, including persistent fatigue, mental fog, mood swings, the works. And even more unfortunately, while there is mitigating treatment, there is no cure for fibromyalgia. It's the lifelong companion no one wants, and those who suffer from it must summon immense mental strength and fortitude to face each day, even as the rest of the world fails to understand the magnitude of their struggle. Oh joy, yet another reason for me not to vacation in Australia. Let's say you're walking on a delightful hike in the Australian rainforest. You accidentally brush against an innocent-looking plant, thinking nothing of it. Then, out of nowhere, as if you were suddenly stung by a swarm of wasps, an agonizing pain sets in. Yeah, that wasn't a regular rainforest leaf you struck, that was a Gimpy leaf. The Gimpy leaf has tiny hollow hairs which are filled with a strong neurotoxin. Upon contact, these break off and inject the toxin into the skin. And every person unfortunate enough to have this happen to them has regarded it as the worst pain in the world. And as if to solidify its position as the most sadistic plant on Earth, the pain induced by the toxins can last for days, months, or in some unfortunate cases, years. One poor guy happened to get slapped in the face by this stuff, and his pain lasted for 2 whole years. So if you ever find yourself brave enough to explore the Australian rainforest, be cautious of the Gimpy. Maybe stay as far away from it as possible. Better yet, observe it through binoculars, from a very far distance. A certain YouTuber who may or may not be mildly insane can attest to the agony inflicted by this little guy. Despite having a name that may sound exaggerated, the executioner wasp is a real species found in Central and South America. Measuring up to 2 inches long, this wasp is almost as big as a small bird. resembling something akin to a flying needle, but its size is far outclassed by the pain it can inflict with its sting. Their sting injects a venom-containing pompotoxin, a neurotoxin that causes instant, excruciating pain that lasts for hours. Victims have described the sensation as being hit by a freight train, but the pain is just the beginning. The ordeal continues with fever, sweating, nausea, and vomiting. And as if Mother Nature decided to truly show her sadistic side when creating this creature, executioner wasps are parasitoid, meaning they sting and paralyze other insects before laying their eggs inside them, allowing the larvae to hatch and consume the host alive from the inside out. Let us pray that this thing never evolves to do this to humans. Our final bringer of pain also happens to be used in some sort of rite of passage that would make any fraternity hazing seem like paradise. If you thought the executioner wasp was bad, the bullet ant takes pain to a whole nother level. Named because its sting feels akin to being shot, the bullet ant's sting is said to inject the world's most painful venom. Victims have described the agony as having their bones pulled through their skin, with the pain persisting for up to 24 hours. Remember that rite of passage thing I mentioned? In Brazil, as a rite of passage for young boys to become warriors or leaders, the Sateremawe tribe has their young men put their hands in gloves filled with bullet ants. These young men are then forced to keep their hands in the gloves for 10 minutes as the ants sting them multiple times. And if you think this was a one-time thing, they have to go through this 20 times. I don't know about you, but I'm willing to bet even the toughest first worlder wouldn't stand a chance against this ritual. And there you have it, folks, a tour through some of the most excruciating pain experiences known to mankind. But don't let these tales of pain discourage you from exploring the world around you. After all, you know what they say, no pain, no gain. Not that I'm saying you should try any of these things to test your toughness. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. But if you enjoyed this journey through the realm of painful things, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content that will make you laugh, cringe, and maybe question your faith in humanity. Got an experience with pain you think rivals what we have here? Leave it in the comments below. And if you have any other topics you'd like us to explore, let us know. Until next time, remember, pain is temporary, but memories last a lifetime. See you in the next video.